You're not waiting because you need one more grammar book. You're waiting because booking the exam makes it real. And that's scary. So if you've been saying, I'll book my C1 advanced exam when I feel ready, this video is for you. Because today we need to have a very honest conversation. Not a cute study tips conversation, but a real one. The kind of conversation where I gently take your hand, look you in the eyes and say, friend, the grammar book is not the problem. You already know more than you think. But what's stopping you is the size of the decision. Most candidates think that the reason they haven't booked the exam is their English. They say things like, my grammar isn't ready, my speaking isn't good enough, my use of English is still a disaster, or maybe I just need a few more months, I'll book it when I feel confident. And listen, sometimes, yes, you do need more preparation. I'm not telling you to book an exam tomorrow if your current level is nowhere near C1. That wouldn't be brave. That would be expensive chaos. And we don't need expensive chaos. We have enough chaos already. But for many candidates, the real reason is not English. It's fear. Fear of proving yourself wrong. Fear of failing again. Or fear of telling people that you booked it. Fear of spending money and not getting the results. Or maybe fear of discovering that after all this time, you still might not be ready. And that fear can look very responsible. It wears glasses, it opens a spreadsheet, it says, I'm just being realistic. But sometimes being realistic is just fear in a little business suit. So in this video, I want to talk about the real reason you haven't booked your exam. Not to make you feel bad, not to pressure you, but to help you see what's actually happening. And I'm going to show you the mindset change that changes everything. So you don't wait until you feel ready to book the exam. You build readiness by training for a real date. This is something I see all the time with C1 candidates. People who are intelligent, people who work hard, people who've wanted this certificate for years, for a promotion they can't have without the certificate, for a job in another country, for a visa application which is half finished on their computer. And yet they keep pushing the exam away. But inside my C1 Advanced Exam Success Program, we work on exam strategy, speaking, writing, use of English, listening, reading, all of it. But we also work on the brain you bring into the exam room. Because your English matters, but so does the calm, steady brain that has to carry that English on the day. I'm Izzy from English with Izzy, and I've helped over 4,000 candidates prepared for the C1 Advance. More than 100,000 learners have downloaded my resources, and now I'm here to help you pass the C1 Advance with a clear plan, not guesswork. And a quick question before we start. How long have you been thinking about taking the C1 exam? Is it 6 months, a year, maybe 5 or even 10 years? The comments, no judgment. This is just a safe space for recovering those one day people. Here is the first truth. A dream feels safe when it stays in the future. You say, one day I'll take C1. One day I'll get the certificate. One day I'll apply for that job. One day I'll prove to myself that I can do it. And it feels comfortable because one day cannot fail. One day, it doesn't have a date. It doesn't ask you to pay the exam fee. One day doesn't require you to sit in a room with the examiner and speak English while your nervous system is doing an interpretive dance. But the moment you book the exam, one day becomes a date. And that date starts asking questions. Are you actually studying? Do you know your weak points? Are you practicing speaking? Have you done a full test? Are you ready? And suddenly your brain says, absolutely not, danger. Close the laptop, make a tea, maybe reorganize this folder instead. And that's why booking the exam feels emotional. It's not just admin, it's a decision. And decisions create pressure. But pressure isn't always bad. Pressure can become a plan. But without a date, your brain treats the C1 like an idea. With a date, your brain starts treating it like a project. And that's a completely different strategy. The second truth is you're probably waiting for confidence to arrive before you act. You think, when I feel confident, I'll book the exam. But that's the wrong order. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Repetition comes first, evidence comes first, and then confidence comes after. Think about anything that you ever got good at: driving, going to the gym, speaking another language, leading a meeting, cooking without burning the house down. You didn't feel confident at the beginning. You felt awkward. You made mistakes. You repeated the skill, and little by little, your brain learned, oh, I can survive this. And that's how confidence is built. Your brain changes through repetition. And every time you practice a task calmly, you're teaching your brain, this is familiar, this is not dangerous, I know what to do here. And that's why exam practice matters so much. Not random practice, not I watched 7 videos on YouTube and highlighted through pages, but real practice, timed practice, speaking out loud, writing full essays, checking mistakes, repeating weak areas, because the exam doesn't test how much English you know in your bedroom with tea and a candle. It tests how well you can use your English on the exam day, when you're nervous, when the clock is ticking, and when your brain is trying to remember every mistake you've ever made since 2014. So no, you don't need perfect confidence. You need trained familiarity, and that's different. Now, let's be very clear. Feeling scared doesn't mean you're not ready. It means the exam matters, it's important to you, and that's all. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't feel scared. You would book it between buying shampoo and answering a WhatsApp message. But because the certificate matters, because a promotion, a move abroad, maybe a better job is depending on it, your brain treats it like a threat, like something dangerous. And then the worrying circle starts. You think, what if I fail? And then you feel bad. And then you avoid practice, and then you don't improve. And then you feel even more scared. And that's the loop. Fear, avoidance, no evidence, more fear. And this is where candidates get stuck for years. Not because they're lazy, they're trying to avoid the feeling of possible failure. But here's the reality check. Avoiding the exam doesn't protect you from failure. It just keeps you in uncertainty. And uncertainty is exhausting. Because every month you don't decide, your brain keeps carrying the same message. See, when advanced exam, it's still there, it's still open, it's still using battery inside your brain. And at some point, you need to stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what would I need to do to give myself the best chance? And that question is powerful because it moves you from fear to planning. And planning is where the calm begins. And this is exactly why I created my free guide, Train Your Brain for C1 Advanced, because it helps you stop treating exam nerves like a personal weakness and start training your mindset like part of your preparation. And you'll find the PDF in the pinned comment below. Here's the key idea I want you to take from this video. Readiness, or being ready, is not a feeling. Readiness is evidence. You do not know you are ready because one magical morning you think, yes. And one morning you wake up and think, today I am a Cambridge warrior. The birds are singing, my inversions are perfect, my part 4 answers are balanced. No, you know you're getting ready because you have evidence. And I mean evidence that you can actually point to. You scored a consistent pass around 180 or higher on at least 2 practice tests that you timed yourself doing, not just one lucky one. You have evidence when your writing is regularly coming back at the level you need, not once, but again and again. You know your weakest paper. You know the 3 or 4 mistakes that you repeat, and you're actively fixing them this week. You've practiced speaking out loud on a timer, not just in your head. That's what readiness looks like. It's not a mood, but it's a folder full of proof. And when you have proof, fear gets quieter. Not silent, but quieter. And that's the goal. Not zero fear, just enough calm to perform. Because the C1 Advanced exam doesn't ask you to be perfect, but it asks you to use clear, controlled, grown-up English on the day. And that can be trained. So here is the real talk. If you keep saying, I'll book it when I feel ready, you may never book it because your brain can always find one more reason to wait. One more mock test, one more course, one more notebook, one more I'll start on Monday. Next Monday has carried too much responsibility for too long. So let Monday rest. Instead, I want you to ask a better question. What would be a realistic exam window for me? Not tomorrow, not panic booking, a realistic window. Maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, but put a shape around it. Because when the goal has no shape, your study has no urgency. And when your study has no urgency, keep drifting. A date doesn't need to scare you. A date can organize you. It can turn vague fear into this week I practice speaking part 2. This week I do 1 writing task. This week I fix my use of English part 4 patterns. This week I review my mistakes. And that's how candidates pass. Not by waiting for the perfect feeling, by building the evidence week by week. And if building that evidence against a real date is exactly the thing you can never quite do alone, that's what my C1 Advanced Exam Success Program is for. You'll get a week by week plan, so you don't have to plan the study sessions. I tell you what to study every day. You'll have a date to train towards. And this is designed for working professionals who need the certificate for something specific. But we'll talk more about that at the end. For now, keep listening. So if you still haven't booked your C1 Advanced exam, I want you to hear this. You're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not bad at English, but you may be stuck in the waiting loop, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for the fear to disappear. And that's not how this works. You start, you train, you collect evidence, and the calm comes after. I've put my free guide, Train Your Brain for C1 Advanced, in the pinned comment and in the description below. So download it if you want help with the mindset side of exam preparation, like how to handle your nerves, how to stop chasing perfection, how to treat mistakes as clues, as data, and how to build the calm, steady brain that you need on exam day. And if you want the full system, the study plan, live classes with a real speaking examiner, the practice, the feedback, and the support, which is built for working professionals who need the C1 Advanced, you can also come and see what's inside my C1 Advanced Exam Success Program. But today, start with the free guide. And let's have a chat in the comments below. How long have you been waiting to book the exam? And be honest, 6 months, 2 years, maybe even 10 years. And I promise you are not the only one. And if you're preparing for Cambridge C1, subscribe because I'm here to help you stop guessing and start preparing properly. You've got this. And remember, your future English starts with what you do